Before you listen to this episode of the Football Journeys podcast with yet another inspiring guest, we have a few favours to ask. The success of this podcast depends on its reach. If you enjoy the podcast, please do what you can to promote our hard work. Give us a 5-star rating, leave a nice review, tell your friends, or promote us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and we're still on the other place too. Find us on @JourneysPod. You might even find us on TikTok these days. Even just a like on our clips, trailers and posts can boost engagement and bring more listeners. Please, please, please spread the word. And if you know any brands or organisations who share our values and who might be interested in partnering with us, then please do put them in touch. Or if you know someone who has had an inspiring football journey, get in touch to tell us more. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at footballjourneys@b5consultancy.com.
Welcome to the Football Journeys podcast with me, Matt Himsworth.
And me, Lee Nichol.
Yes, we have a female voice back in the studio. We're delighted to have Lee with us today because today's episode is a celebration of the female influence within our business, B5 Consultancy. And we have also bent the rules a little bit because in September last year, we were joined by Celia Quansah. We added her to our group chat at B5. She's our only full-time staff member who is still playing. Unfortunately, she's playing with a wrong-shaped ball, but we will gloss over that. And while we've worked with a number of Paralympians, she's also our first Olympian. And we'll be talking a little bit about the COVID Olympics in Tokyo 2021.
Yeah.
With Lee, she's leading our programmes in the women's game. She's talking about some of the key issues that impact sportswomen. So we've got social media abuse, injuries. It's a very hot, sunny day. Celia's wearing shorts and I've counted her scars. She's got 5 scars on her knees. So talk about the way that athletes put their bodies on the line. She talks about relationships, ethnicity, identity, and transition from athlete to the next stage, which is something she's living right now. She started as a heptathlete. She moved on to rugby, where she represented England at sevens. She played in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham 2022. She also went with Team GB to the COVID Olympics, as I mentioned, in Tokyo, but she missed out on Paris through one of those injuries, but she was there to cheer on her long-term partner and Red Roses captain, Meg Jones. She now finds herself playing and working. We might talk a little bit about that for the Ealing Trailfinders, not too far away in West London. And she's also doing some amazing work with us here at B5. We are so proud to have her. What a woman. Celia Quansah, it's a privilege. Welcome to the Football Journeys podcast.
Oh, an intro.
I mean every word because I've got to know you over the last nearly year or so. And as I said, we are bending the rules. I don't think we're going to talk much about football. I'm sure I'll find some way to segue football in.
I've got a football story about her.
Oh, yeah.
Is this a time when she was basically a body on the pitch and she was absolutely hopeless? And the only reason I say...
Body on the pitch, excuse me.
The only reason I say that with complete glee is that Celia really is the polymath in our business. We had a great bit of fun last year where we played VR cricket. And Celia barely picked up a bat in her life and she ended up being the best at it. I mean, she really is someone that picks up every sport, which is quite nice for our start because we like to take our guests back to the beginning and talk about being a kid and what made you into the athlete that you became. Your upbringing was in Twickenham, which makes it look like a steady, nice, easy, straight line into rugby. But rugby wasn't really what you started with. But it's a conversation we've had a lot, and I'm really interested in why so many successful elite athletes are the baby. Yeah. So you really were the baby. Very sadly, your mum lost her first husband, who was a father to all of your siblings.
Yeah.
And then she got together with your dad. And that meant that there was quite a big age gap between you. I think you got 3 olders. And I wrote down the ages, but I know that you were a little bit nervous. You might have got the ages wrong. But all your siblings are at least 11 years older than you.
Yeah.
So you really were that baby, going to your brother's rugby games, your sister's gymnastics and athletics, following them around. And that's kind of where your love of sport came.
Yeah, no, it was. I think you just summarised my family in like the most, yeah. Normally I'm like, right, I don't know how to explain this and I have to go right back to the beginning. But yeah, I've got a massive family and it is very complex. There's loads of different...
There's 2 step-siblings as well.
2 step-siblings, yeah, 2 older brothers and an older sister. But growing up, I always used to just say I've got 4 brothers and a sister. It was never like, oh, these are my half sisters, these are my brothers. But actually it was a bit difficult because we looked so different and because there was a massive age gap. I did feel like I had to kind of explain myself a bit sometimes, which was just like, I think looking back, it's frustrating because to us, we were just all siblings and we all lived under one roof, and it was just like, we were such a close-knit family. But I think now probably it's a bit different. I don't find myself explaining myself anymore, but maybe it's because it's less of an obvious age gap. I mean, when I was born, my sister was 18. So, you know, it's, I think they always thought she was my mum or like my nanny or something.
Well, that's the thing. And anyone that doesn't know you and is listening will not see that. So you were of mixed heritage. The family that you were born into was all white, with the exception of your dad, who's of Ghanaian heritage as well. So there's that kind of element of growing up in a pretty white area as well, Twickenham, in a white family as a young mixed heritage kid, where you can look to your dad, and I know that you've really explored your Ghanaian heritage recently, and I think you and Meg have gone to Ghana and experienced the sights, sounds and smells of that incredible place. But it's quite difficult to do that when you're in Twickenham and not Accra, or you're not, you know, you're not in the place where your dad grew up. And this is something that I've spoken to a lot of people in mixed heritage houses that can be quite difficult. They're really simple little things that you don't think about, like hair. And I think it was you that talked to me about mixed heritage hair as compared with someone who's got almost completely black heritage. Your hair will be thicker than most white people, but not quite as thick as black people. And then you've got your white mum that's got to deal with like the curls and all those kind of little strange elements.
Honestly, there was actually a photo that I posted the other day for Father's Day, and it's my dad, and I'm stood, I think I've got like the equivalent of an iPad back in the day, and he's like brushing my hair and I'm just there like it's normal. And it's such a sweet picture because that was like the reality. Every morning before school they were like scraping my hair back, trying to like make it look presentable, and you know, you get home from school and it's like everywhere. But yeah, I think it is tricky, like for my mum especially. You know, she brought up 4, 5 white kids, and then there was me with like this thick curly afro hair. But like they were amazing. I think, you know, they used to just go to all the shops. We were lucky that although Twickenham is quite a white area, Hounslow isn't far, and that is a lot more multicultural. So I think going there, they had all like the African hair shops and things, which was great. So I wasn't like completely without. But yeah, I think at my school there was me and one other mixed race girl. So I never really, growing up, was around people that looked like me. But yeah, I don't know. I think when you're young, it's not something you think about massively. But then as you grow up, you kind of notice it more. And then I think moving on a bit, but when I went to start athletics, and I'd met a couple of girls there that looked like me, and they're still, Morgan and Sharon, still like some of my closest friends now. But it was like a breath of fresh air, because it was just like, oh, we actually have other things in common. Like obviously I met so many amazing friends at school and everything, but it always was like I was different. I used to straighten my hair. I literally singed my hair off. Like if you look back at photos now, I'm like, why, Celia? And you know, my mum and dad would be begging me not to, like, don't ruin your beautiful curls. But like at the time, I just wanted to look like everyone else around me. Like I just wanted to fit in. And it's so sad when you look back now, because now I'm like, my hair is like one of my like most proudest features.
It's your strength and it's your superpower. The fact you were different. And this week I've given a presentation to a group of teenagers in the school. And it's one thing I talk about is your teenage years, you're in a bubble and you're so desperate to just fit in that little bubble. And you don't realise it is a bubble. It's so unimportant. And if I could give any advice to a teenager, in fact, maybe the advice is wrong, because maybe you do just have to survive as a teenager, but everything that's different about you is what makes you brilliant and wonderful. And I guess there's that kind of view of that 14, 15-year-old Celia. You'd love to just shake her and go, that's amazing. This is, now you're so proud of it. You can say that at the age of 29, nearly 30 this year.
Give it away. No, but it's so true. And like, I think like I've got nieces now. One of my nieces just turned 18 and one's just turned 20. And I look at them and like they struggled a little bit throughout school, just with like being picked on and stuff. And I used to say to them, like, that you are amazing the way you are. You don't need to change for anyone. You don't have to try and fit in. If people don't like you, it's fine. Like, they're not your forever people. You will find like everyone else. And I wasn't really in a position, like, I never really got picked on. I guess I was like one of the popular kids, but I think
you were sporty.
You get that from the sporty. But at the same time, that was another thing that made me different. So, you know, I was always like the good kid, I guess. And like, was always going to athletics training, or if it wasn't that, it was gymnastics. So there was always something going on. And I think like I was tall, I was muscular, I was also mixed race, I had different hair, like, you know, and like growing up and trying to fit in with boys and stuff, I was taller than all the boys. Like, I don't know, I did feel different. But now I look back and I'm like, these are all the things that I love about myself. So yeah, I think it's just such an important message to get across to youngsters.
And athletics is a really interesting one, and I think it'd be really important to talk about team sports and the issues that has with the lack of representation within it, which I know that rugby and football are working really hard, and actually there's some really positive things I think we can say about how that's progressing. But athletics was one, and obviously the oldest person in this room by a long, long way. I kind of reflect back on the 80s, and I think of some of the black figures who are really coming out and were a big factor in my household. There was some in entertainment, but there were not many. I remember we used to watch the Lenny Henry show all the time, and he was big in my house. But athletics was the one.
Yeah.
Linford Christie, I was absolutely obsessed with him. I thought he was just absolutely wonderful. And I think of the 4x400 metres team that won the World Championships and overtook Antonio Pettigrew, Chris Akabusi running him down. I think of all these amazing black athletes. And obviously, I guess for you, it would have been some later examples. So I've just fixed in the 80s, so I can't move beyond that. But athletics is really well represented across the board. I mean, probably subconsciously it might have attracted you in that respect, but actually you just found you were good at something. That's why you ended up there. But some of your teammates as well, you ended up, going from a white school, and then I think it was Morgan Lake who you trained with, and Sharon Irving. So you were meeting people there that finally you were meeting people that looked like you.
Yeah. And that was like, I honestly have some of the best memories with those girls. And like we spoke a little bit about it in the week, but it's not, I met these girls and I felt really comfortable, but we were based in Windsor. Like this was still a very like privileged area. So I think it wasn't even until way after that I like even really understood like my heritage a bit more, I think, because those girls are both mixed race too. But athletics is so much more diverse, I would say, than rugby, like in so many ways. When I think about all the people that I used to go to English schools with and stuff, and actually like I drove past the meeting point like on the way here, because we were Team Middlesex, so we used to get on this coach and like it was just full of like black and mixed race people, and I was like, this is so cool, like I feel like at home in a weird way. But yeah, I don't know, it's something that I look back on and I never found it was like a struggle for me, but it's just like, I don't know, when you think about it now, it's like, actually, no, like I was different. And those probably were thoughts that went through my head, but I never actually, I guess spoke about it or thought too deep into it.
Well, I mean, I don't want to kind of put thoughts or words in your mouth, but you had a brilliant upbringing. You had a great mum and dad who adored you, and they gave you a great start. So that would have outweighed those problems for you. So therefore, you still have some really fond memories of it. But it is really, really important to be able to, if you can't see it, you can't be it, which actually is not true, because there are trailblazers that do be it, because there has to be at that beginning. But I do want to talk with some positivity actually from some of the work that we do. So to take rugby as an example, every year we go to the rookie camp, or the Academy Induction Day they call it, at the RPA, which is a group of massive lads who are about to be professional rugby players. I think it was about 3 years ago, there started to be some big girls as well. But I can tell you, and it's anecdotal, of course it is, but year on year, I will tell you, the first year I ever did it, I can't remember whether I saw any black or mixed heritage faces in the audience. And last year, where I think you were there, actually it was just after you joined, so I don't think you were there with us. No, you were there with us. Yeah. There's a picture of you there. I remember we took a lovely picture there. You were there. There were quite a lot. I mean, it was moving more towards football in that respect. I don't think it'll ever get there, because football is the working person's game, will always be a bigger representation. But you see that increasing. And one thing that when you and I chatted in preparation for this, I expected you to say is that in those England Sevens teams you're in, I expect you to say every single one of the girls that you play with went to some public or private school.
Yeah.
And you told me the opposite. The majority of the girls actually went to state school. And I think it's a really important element of, if you want representation, you need to make things affordable and you need to make it available to state schools, because then you will end up with, it doesn't matter what their heritage is, but you'll end up with privileged kids. And there's nothing wrong with privileged kids. They're just, they can't help that they were born into it. But it's really important that we have representations. But I mean, so the majority of the girls that you played with at England and Team GB all went to state schools. Now, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I know, it's so weird because the men's game is so different. The majority of the men's game, the boys have come through, you know, Eton, Wellington, like all of those schools. Millfield, that's a massive one, yeah. And like it's a real issue in men's rugby. But in the women's game, I don't know whether it's because it's a little bit further behind in that like it's a bit more kind of with the times. But
are there rugby scholarships for girls? To those
there must be. There must be, but I actually don't know, you know. I mean, I know a couple of girls that went to those schools, but not for rugby. They were just there, you know. But I think I remember at Wasps, I think there was maybe 2 girls that were from private schools, same in sevens, maybe 1 or 2. So it is really different. And yeah, I don't know the reason, but it's quite nice in that sense. But it doesn't mean that there's still like the same. There's not the problem that, you know, so many girls don't know about rugby. They don't know that rugby is for them. And like I didn't start playing till I was, you know, 20 in my 20s. Even though I was brought up in Twickenham, which is the home of England rugby.
Your brother played rugby, you used to go and watch you play all the time.
So even I didn't really realise that it was a career or anything that I could do, other than just kind of as a hobby. But then you go to, you know, like North London, South London, girls, even boys don't know about rugby. So then
I didn't really know about it growing up, to be honest with you. I just thought posh kids played.
Yeah, and I thought that like everyone knew about rugby growing up because I was right next to it. I thought it was like as big as football, genuinely. And then I started playing. It wasn't until I started playing that I was like, oh God, actually, like this isn't really that big. Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know. I think for girls, it's nice. It's a good thing that it's not all pushed through private schools. It does mean it's more accessible, but at the same time, like so much more needs to be done to kind of like go out to these schools and actually, I think. But you're able to play rugby in school because that was when I was first introduced to it. It wasn't later on. And if you don't know that it's an option for you, then you're never going to fall into it. And there's so much talent out there. It's just like, I even think about when I did athletics and when I transferred from athletics to rugby, and then a couple of years later, like, I was like, oh my God, there are so many girls in athletics that aren't quite making it. In athletics, you have to be like the top 1% to ever have a career in it. And I was like, there are so many girls that would be incredible at sevens. It's so transferable. But again, there's just not that opportunity or a pathway or anything to like drive these girls into rugby. And I know quite a few girls that I used to athletics with, and they now play, but it's like, it's not too late. Obviously, they still get whatever from it, you know, the social aspects, like that competitive side, but you know, it's too late for them to now go and play for Red Roses or
make it their career.
Yeah, but it's just so sad because I think had you picked that up at like, you know, even 18, 19, then it's just, yeah.
And do you think that there are certain sports that are set out and they're appropriate, or certainly were, they're appropriate sports for girls, you know, tennis, netball, athletics. So historically, because we've got these female faces who are recognisable, good female tennis players, netball players and athletics players, you don't say that, do you? That therefore, you know, team sports, when you were a youngster, and you as well, because you're both the same age, weren't kind of mapped out for girls. And actually then you can look at what it looks like in the modern times for boys. So many boys are just gearing for one thing, which is to be a football player, because that's the dream, that's where the real money is, that's where the fame is, that's what every boy wants to be. And I think when you're using that analogy, I was thinking how many boys are brilliant at football and they put everything in that 0.0012%, which is a real stat, could have transferred to rugby or athletics or hockey or all these other sports that exist out there.
I know, and you get kind of pigeonholed, don't you? I don't know. What sports did you play?
I was just going to say rugby wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was always the team sports were football, hockey, and volleyball.
Volleyball?
Yeah.
Really?
I was quite good.
You're about this tall. I don't know how you managed that.
But rugby was. Again, when I came down to London and we were with the Saracen rugby boys, it was the first time I had ever really seen rugby.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd seen it on TV. As our national team in Scotland, we're very proud of them. But I just thought, where do they learn to play rugby? Because there's not a rugby field around us. I've never seen a rugby ball in real life. Like, I've never held one. And it's strange. Now I do go back home and there is a local rugby team called DL. But I don't see girls still.
Really,
so I do think it needs to be in year one, and part of it, just let them explore it at least, just part of the first 6 weeks or second 6 weeks, just let them try it, because the research shows that it does take 10,000 hours of training to become elite at something. And I know that you probably, because your career pathway, you've not reached 10,000 hours of training, but think how much better the Red Roses could be.
No, I know.
The Sevens could be. Like, rugby in Scotland could be for females and boys as well, because in my area, boys didn't play rugby.
Yeah.
So,
no, I know. Just being introduced to it at a young age, because I was so lucky in that my PE teachers at my primary school and my secondary school pushed rugby. But otherwise, I would never have thought that I would enjoy that. Like, I'm a girly girl, like I don't want to be like shoved around, really, but actually I love rugby, like, and there are so many girls that you see as well, and you think, oh, if you're going to introduce them to a sport, like, oh, probably don't, like, stay away from the contact. They love it. Like, that is one of the things that we try and make sure we include if we're doing a taster session or something. Not always easy, like with insurance and stuff, but they love it. Like, the young girls love the rough and tumble and just being like able to whack someone. Like, it's not a normal thing to be allowed to do, is it? So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm so grateful that I was given the opportunity, because no way would I have thought that rugby would have been something that I'd actually enjoy.
Well, because the reason for that was you were going down a path in athletics. You were well, I would understand a heptathlete, but you explained to me indoors it's pentathlete because there's five events indoors. I think you competed against the likes of Jessica Ennis, but didn't quite get to that standard, which is not an insult by any stretch of imagination at all. But actually makes your point about, kind of the real fine margins, and you've got to be in the top 1%. Athletics is a really lonely sport, particularly when you don't get to the 1%, right?
Yeah. You have to put so much into it. And of course you do in every sport, but it's crazy. Like, everything you're doing for yourself. So I remember, it sticks with me now, my coaches, they used to say, you're only cheating yourself. Like, you're literally only cheating yourself. And I just couldn't, I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this for myself. Like, I need a bit more. I don't want to be running around a track in the freezing cold, and like, why else? Yeah, there must be like another reason, and there wasn't. And don't get me wrong, there were amazing parts of it, and I loved it. I wouldn't have done it for 10 years if I didn't. And I did meet some incredible people. But also, your training group, who become your friends, are also your competitors. So it's like, you always want to do well, and you want your teammates to do well, your training partners to do well, but not as well as you. Yeah. So it's like
they compete for the same place.
The same place, yeah.
So to be in the England team, to be in the Team GB team, you've got to get better times than them, throw it further, jump longer.
And the people you train with do the same event as you, or you might get sprinters and long jumpers in the same group, or sprinters and hurdlers, but really they are your competitors. So it's like, it's tough, and you think, like, actually are they your friend? Like, are they really your friends? You don't know. And then you then go into a team sport and you're like, wow, this is amazing, because everyone has a common goal here. Everyone's actually working towards the same thing. So yeah, as I got older, I just was like, I don't think I could do this. The motivation just...
I mean, you do down your commitment. I mean, you literally moved away from home at the age of 14 to go to college, and you were focused on, obviously you were getting an education, but the reason for going to that college was because that was an athletics focused college. My grandfather was in the army, actually, and my mum went to boarding school as a result of that. So when he got stationed in certain areas, she had to go away to boarding school. She ran away about 3 times. She absolutely hated it. And the idea of sending away your 14-year-old daughter, particularly the baby as you were, scares the living daylights out of me. How were your mum and dad about you moving away, and how was it being that age and moving away from home?
Yeah, so we were 15, weren't we? It was just after 16. School, yeah, but still, like, we were babies. I mean, when I think about you leaving, coming down to London, like, I was going 50 minutes down the road, it's still not ideal probably for them as parents and my siblings and stuff, but I think it wasn't so far, you know, they could come, if I needed anything, they could come, or like I could go home at the weekends and stuff. But it's still, like, I was so excited to move. Like, I didn't need to. It was like almost like an added bonus. I actually had a really good training group. I was training with Morgan and Shirin at the time, and it was kind of like, oh, why like fix what's not broken? You know, you're doing well and everything. But I just really wanted a change, and it was literally the best 3 years of my life. Natalie lived with you, didn't I? But was it? No, it wasn't all 3 years. It's,
a year and a half.
yeah.
But one
Where
thing
were you living? A bunch of 15-year-olds?
On campus.
We had,
it was
Who was
basically
looking
like
after you?
15 different houses on campus.
Yeah.
And there was a different staff member on call every night that also lived on campus. So
yeah,
we had
like
a curfew of 10 p.m. Celia never stuck to that.
Me?
I did.
You're a liar.
But the one thing that I do always remember is it was nice because you had the Arsenal girls, you had the athletes, you had the rugby boys, netball, like it was lovely. But the one thing I do remember is Celia would be getting up at 6 a.m. because they had to go to training before the rest of us, and injuries. I used to remember thinking, you have to go through that alone. Like, whereas we've all got teammates, and I used to think you're incredible. And I think because how many different sports you've done, it is hard not to pick up injuries. I know you suffered a bit with your back, and I just thought, what a lonely world. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, if I was having a bad day, my teammates would get me through, whereas if you're having a bad day, who gets you through? Yeah.
No, it's actually crazy though, when I think back to when I transferred to rugby, I honestly, like, I didn't get the team sport thing. Like, you guys used to say, oh yeah, I've got camp next week. I honestly, for me, I'm thinking you're in tents. Like, honestly, I had no idea. It was just so alien to me. Like
team bonding on a campsite with each other.
I went away to like Spain or something one time. It was in like January. I can't remember. Yeah. And I was like, where are they off to? Like, this is
because we all went, didn't we? I went with Scotland.
Yeah.
The English girls went away with England. We had the German girl went away, and we all went to the same campus to compete against each other. You
didn't do that as groups of athletes? Well, you just train relentlessly on your own?
Pretty much, no.
Wow.
We would have training camps. So we used to go to Tenerife like every April, and we'd have like a warm weather training camp there. But again, it's like your small group. It's not like the national team that go. I mean, when you get to top level, they do that, but not very often. To be honest, you're always just with your training group. So it was just so alien. And I don't know, you used to just do things, and I'd be like, what? And then when I started playing, I was like, oh my God, you have to be so selfless to be in a team sport. And I got it wrong so many times when I first started playing it, because I just didn't get it. Like, I would just be pouring myself a glass of water, and I'd just pour it for myself. Like, obviously I was young as well, but then it's like, oh, like, can I pour it for anyone else? It's just like, you know, that's such a small example, but it was just constant. You have to think about everyone else.
That is true.
Yeah.
Whoever goes up to the tea station has to offer everyone else a tea, whereas as an individual athlete, you don't need to offer anyone one.
Yeah.
But it's surprising to me because obviously I've known you since 15, 16. Your characteristics are all aimed to belong in a team.
Yeah.
You are so kind, you are so generous and caring, you are so empathetic. And I look back and I'm like, of course you were destined for team sports, because you're not selfish enough to be an individual athlete.
Yeah.
If that makes, and that's not saying individual athletes are selfish, but I think
you have to be. Yeah, you have to be in some senses. And it's so different as well. Like, when you go to in the Olympics and stuff, you see the individual sports, and they try and like kind of tag along with like the rugby girls, or because they're all on their own. Like, they're literally wandering around the Olympic Village on their own, because not your whole training group gets selected for the Olympics. Maybe one from each training group will go, and then you don't, obviously you get to know people by competing against them and everything. But yeah, it's so different. It's just so different.
Well, let's come to that difference. So you went to uni, I think you first went to Brunel, which didn't quite work out, and then you ended up at Loughborough, which is a famous sports university, and that's where you refound rugby. I think I'm right in saying that you met Meg, your partner, at Loughborough, but she was just a friend at that stage, and I think it's a really interesting thing to talk about a bit later on. But you found rugby quite quickly, and then rugby found itself to be a career for you quite quickly, because I think within a very short period of time, you were flying out to Denver to play in England Sevens World Series. You've been flown all over the world. I mean, you're not rich, but you're getting paid to do it, and you're getting put up in accommodation.
Yeah.
You're in groups with a load of mates. You're winning games. And this is for England, presumably, is it?
Yeah.
And tell us how that went.
It was really wild, to be honest. I'd always wanted to try rugby, but just never had the opportunity because, did athletics, you have to commit all your time to it. It just was never a thing. And I then went to Loughborough, and I was like kind of falling out of love with athletics a little bit for all those reasons of being so individual, injuries, just kind of like just wasn't loving it anymore. And then I went to Loughborough. I thought, you know what, actually, I haven't really met anyone. I wasn't enjoying uni life that well. I think also because we had it so good at college, like I'd met all my best friends. I'd done it. We used to go out every Wednesday. Like the things you do at uni, we'd done that for like 3 years.
You used to go out. I didn't.
True. We used to have to drag her out. But we had the time of our lives there. So I kind of everything, like nothing was comparing. And then I was like, do you know what? Maybe I just need to get out and I need to meet people. So in a way, it was kind of a bit of a social thing as well. And I went down to a Bucks training session, and I've told this story before, but it's just like, I think back now and I cringe, but I rocked up in my multicoloured leggings, my athletics trainers, probably a little vest top. And I was like, went into a Bucks training session and just said like, oh, like, can I join in, basically? And the coach was just like looking at me, just thinking she's on a wind up. I was like, no, like I actually want to try rugby. Like, I have played a little bit at school and stuff and want to give it a go. And he was like, all right, join in. But at this point, I didn't know like any of the laws. I had zero hand-eye coordination. Like, it was embarrassing, but I loved it. Like, everyone was just picking me up, teaching me everything. It was such a good laugh. Like, after training, everyone would hang out and we'd chat and it was just so, so fun, and met so many people. And then literally, I think within maybe 2 weeks, I was playing my first Bucks game for the second team, and they just...
Forgive me, Celia, what's Bucks?
Oh, Bucks, sorry. It's like the uni rugby league.
Right, okay.
So they do, it's for like all different sports, but and then so you have like varsity and things like that. So I was playing for like the second team, and they literally just said to me, right, so you just catch and run, because at this point I was
So you're not Forrest Gump at this point.
Literally, but that's all I knew. I honestly, it was so complicated. They were telling me like, oh, just like run a line, or like just present the ball, and I'm like, what? The language is alien to me. Like, when I think about it now, when you try to explain rugby, it makes so much sense in my head, but I'm like, I get it, because it's so
culturally it's become part of you.
But within 2 weeks I was playing this game. I remember like running down the wing, and again, like, had never been told to change direction at any point, and never have had to, because track athlete,
just run straight as fast as you can.
That's a great point. Actually,
like, it never had to like decel, accel, like, at all,
which is major in rugby football.
Hence why I now have no ACL. But like, I remember just seeing this girl coming across ready to tackle me, and I'm thinking, what do I do here? And I was like, so flimsy. Again, you don't get taught to fall, so I was falling. There were some videos of me, I'm literally falling, my legs like going over my head. It's just crazy. But
do you remember your first big hit? Because I mentioned my granddad, who was in the army. When he was in the army, he was a boxer. And he was dominating, he was doing brilliantly. And then one time someone hit him back. And I think it's Mike Tyson that's got the phrase that everyone's got a plan to get punched in the face. Do you remember that moment when you got your first big hit?
Not when I was playing uni rugby, but it was actually in training when I'd got invited into train with the England seniors. And Heather Fisher, I don't know if you'll know her.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I
she's a strong girl.
Yeah. I played with her for maybe 2-3 years. But she is feisty, she is strong, she doesn't give in for anyone. Like, and it's one of those people that's like, okay, it's just like touch, and she can't do touch. There's just 100% or it's nothing. Yeah. And I remember like I was new in, and she whacked me so hard, and I remember just hitting my head on the ground and being like, oh my God, and getting up and just having tears in my eyes and being like, okay, you just got to crack on, like, this is your life now. So basically after I went down to that Bucks session, I just absolutely loved it. And then there was a couple of other games that I played, and there was like a kind of regional scout, I guess, there. It's not a scout, but they do the same sort of thing. And they got in contact with the coach. They kind of found out who I was and stuff, and that I was just new into the sport. And they invited me down for a trial with England Sevens. And again, at this point, like I'd kind of, because I hadn't really been doing much competing for athletics, I wasn't loving it. I had a bit of a gap, so I wasn't like in great like fitness condition or anything. But they invited me out to the trials. I was suddenly like, oh God, okay, yeah, like let's do it. And I said to myself, I'm not gonna play rugby unless I play for England. Like I remember just being like, this is what I want to do. Like I don't want to do it for fun. I'm at this point now. And I went down. The trial was horrendous. I had to run the 1200 meters and the 400 meters fitness testing, which again you don't do in athletics really. You might do the bleep test every now and then.
For people that know football will know it is a mass run.
Yes,
so sometimes it's 1,000, 1,200 or 1,500 meters.
Do you do Broncos?
Yeah, or Broncos, which is what
is for 20, 40,
60
back. Yeah.
Run. For those of you who listen on the podcast, I just look confused.
But it is.
Broncos, I thought it was American football thing.
Yeah.
I think it comes from there, but that's the fitness test that you need to do. So I can confirm you get blood in the mouth.
Yeah,
it is the worst day of the year. Yeah. Everyone dreads it. Yeah. It's the day where you can't enjoy your off season because you know you've got that first day back. So for you,
it's the worst thing
to do that.
Yeah.
What was it like?
No, it was awful. Like I was running and throwing up at the same time, and all I had in my head was, you can't stop, you just can't stop, like you just get to the end of it. I was so far behind, everyone else had finished, I was still going, and I was just like, you can't stop.
Did you ever feel in your head that I should be good at this because I'm the athlete?
Well, yes and no. Like I'd never had to run further than 800 meters. So, and that was a struggle. So I wasn't trained for that at all. Like I was a powerful, short distance athlete. Yeah. So I knew I'd smash we did 400 meters as well. And I smashed that, and I smashed all the speed testing, but I knew this would be a struggle. But anyway, I kind of thought I'd messed it up for myself, because I was just like they're not going to want someone that can't even run 1,200 meters when they're playing, whatever 80-minute or 14-minute game. And actually, I found out like later on that was one of the reasons that I got in, not because I'd run it in about 8 minutes and I was last and throwing up, but because I had like the mental strength to push through and I didn't stop. And my coach said to me, like, you can't teach that. You can coach someone to be fit. You can teach fitness. Like, we knew you had that in you, but you can't teach someone to be mentally strong, basically. Like, and I was like, I found this out honestly about 2 years later, and it's just stuck with me, because I thought, I'd messed it up for myself, but actually it was like part of my character that they loved. So, yeah. And then found myself basically playing for the development team that summer.
So that's like England development. So it's like B team to the main England Sevens team.
Yeah, basically, and like they kind of use it as like a bit of a talent pathway, which is, it's not there. They don't have it anymore, which is so sad. But and then I played a few like home nations games against like Wales and Scotland and stuff, and then was offered my first contract, and that was like a part-time kind of student contract. And I remember that was the first time I'd ever been paid to do
So you're still finishing your degree at this time,
yeah,
whilst getting paid to play rugby, which is a dream in a way.
Yeah, a dream. And it didn't get me wrong, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was lovely. Like, I was like, this is perfect.
Professional sport.
Exactly, yeah. And I was going into camp, training camps and stuff. And then so that year was kind of me like learning the laws, learning to catch, learning what I was doing. And then, I think it was pretty much a year after that I made my debut on the World Series in Denver, which I was so lucky that I was given the opportunity to go in when I basically had no idea about rugby, because it doesn't happen. You have to have some understanding really, but they just saw me as an athlete that they could nurture into a rugby player. And James Bailey, like, I will always give him the credit for like pretty much my whole career, because had he not taken a chance on me, I wouldn't have been there. Like,
James was your coach at
England Sevens, yeah. So he was my first head coach, and he was the first black head coach of an England team in rugby. And you met him at the RPA.
Yeah, we met him.
Yeah. And he just like, yeah, kind of took me under his wing a bit and just like, you know, I remember him giving me this rugby ball saying, I want you to hold this at all times. He wrote my initials on it. He said, hold it at all times. I want you walking around. I don't want to see you without it. Like, because I didn't have like those skills, and he would be there like just hammering passes at me like, no, you've done it wrong. Do it this way, do it that way. And he got me there. And yeah, like I genuinely, without him, I wouldn't have had the career that I did. So he was amazing. And yeah, I then, it was just a whirlwind. I was a full-time professional athlete. I mean, I think my first contract was like 20 grand. I was absolutely buzzing though. How old was I? I was 20 or 21. Like,
were you literally not going home at this stage? Because there are all these kind of events, that sevens tournaments that you have all over the world, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's pretty much one a month. So you're in camp, and at this time the program was amazing. We look back now and I'm like, we had it so good. We were training at the Lensbury in Teddington, which is an amazing facility, and we were at Bishop Abbey first as well, which was like equally as amazing. And we were going in Monday to Friday. Wednesday was like your off day, but you go in for a bit of recovery, massage. I mean, it's a hard life. And then you'd then do that for maybe 2-3 weeks, then you'd go away for probably a week and a half. And some of the stops, so we had Denver, Dubai, Cape Town, LA, Vancouver, Australia, New Zealand. Like the stops are amazing, and you're there with all your mates just having a run around. Like,
and they were really well attended, these?
It depends. It really depends where it is. So New Zealand, that was always amazing because there was a massive crowd. South Africa, Cape Town, always amazing. Although if South Africa don't make it to the final, everyone just goes home. Literally. But yeah, they are. And some of them, you know, we've done a couple in like Spain and stuff where rugby's not as big and you don't get a massive crowd. But yeah, it's pretty big.
And what a life. And during that time that you really got to know Meg, and there's an interesting way of looking at this. It blows my mind a little bit about how grown up female athletes can be, because there's a lot of gay girls that play rugby and football as well, a high percentage, which means there's a lot of relationships that go on within dressing rooms and then between other dressing rooms as well. And it's we're recording this during the Women's Euros. England have just beaten the Netherlands 4-0, and I have no insight as to the decision as to why. It may well have just been a tactical decision, but Bethany didn't play in that game, and she's in a relationship with the Netherlands star player Vivian Miedema. Actually, I think this is the first question I want to ask you on this, is like, put yourself in best position, let's say you played. How would you feel about playing against Meg? I mean, bearing in mind what one hell of a player Meg is, that's the first consideration.
I wouldn't want to be honest. Yeah, it's weird. We've never played against each other. We've always been the same team.
Including at Ealing, you've just signed.
Yeah, we've just signed Ealing. Wasp Sevens and Ealing together. So I don't know. You know, it's weird. I don't think I would think of it like that. When you're on the pitch, so many of the girls are my best mates that I play against. I don't see them as my best mates when I'm on the pitch. You know, after or whatever, you have a bit more of a laugh, like in a rock or whatever. But it's not. I don't know. I can't imagine myself thinking like, oh, I don't want to tackle her because I don't want to hurt her. It's just part of the game, really. But I get it, and obviously, I guess like when the stakes are so high at Euros, it's probably. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what they're thinking was behind it.
It must be very special as well. We had Tash Dowie, who obviously we work with, and you know Tash on the podcast, and she's been with her wife Becky for years and years. They met at Everton. They went to Liverpool together. So like you and Meg, come as a package. Yeah. You get Meg, you also get Celia as well, which is amazing. What a deal. And I know she spoke with real fondness about, I don't know whether she holds a record for this, but, you know, she won a league title with her wife. Yeah. And to be able to do something like that and to be able to win things with Meg must be really, really special for you.
Yeah, like that is honestly one of the best things. especially in sevens, because like we were just saying, we were away all the time. So having her there was just, it was the best. Like we were literally just traveling the world together. And the Olympics was probably the one that sticks out the most. Actually, the qualifying for the Olympics, because that was actually a moment that's probably worth talking about. But she split her head open in the final of the qualifying tournament for the Olympics.
Of course she did.
Yeah. I know, she always splits.
She's, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know Meg, she's a tough cookie.
She is. But yeah, and that was tough because I was just being brought on as it was happening, and she was literally screaming on the ground, and I'm thinking, what I want to do is go over there.
Yeah.
But
you came on for her?
No, not for her. Like my change,
my
change was happening anyway. But I was like, oh, I really want to go over there, but I can't. I've got like stay in the game, and it's like it's really hard.
I remembered that. I remembered the picture you sent me.
Yeah,
horrific.
So bad.
So,
yeah,
someone's partner.
Yeah,
to put your job before your personal in that moment. Like imagine it was you and Lucy, and you're down the ground, and Lucy's having to go and continue with the job and be like, he's being looked after.
I know.
With medical professionals. There's nothing I can do. Like, that is an awful situation to be in as someone who loves their sport but loves their partner more than they love their sport.
Yeah, exactly. And go on.
No, I was just, you use that analogy of whether it was me and my wife, and I do think it's interesting to make that analogy. The reason, the thing that blows my mind about it is how grown up you can all be, because I can imagine a situation that I can only take the position of a straight guy. So imagine there's a football squad where there are 12 players and there are 6 straight men and 6 straight women. They're all single, and they may or may not have a relationship with one another, and then some of those relationships may or may not end. It will be absolute bloody chaos. And obviously that does happen in women's football and women's rugby, that some of the relationships do end. Sometimes the relationships end for players that you're playing against, and there obviously are emotions that come out. And I'm not asking you to talk about personal situations for anyone. But actually what I would want to ask you about is, when you are away with Meg, and you have been away with Meg, are you kind of conscious to not go walking arm in arm everywhere and be a couple while you're away, because it might not be fair on some of the other girls who are not in relationships?
Yeah, definitely. And that was something we were always really conscious of. And there was a bit of a situation that kind of made us like that at the beginning. But I think we never wanted it to affect the group. And it is something you have to be aware of. Like, I don't know, we always knew that it was going to be long term. So I don't know, I think kind of just like messing around for the sake of it just isn't great in team sport, because it always ends up messy, whereas if you're gonna like commit to something, I feel like you can't say, oh no, you can't do that, like, so but I think if you'd come into, I was talking about the sevens environment, and you just like observe the group, I don't think you would know that we were together, because we don't share rooms. We didn't, we would never walk around holding hands. Like, yes, we might spend a bit more time together, but our group within the team, we're all very close anyway. So, you kind of hang out, and it's always a thing. And even now, sometimes I'm like, God, I hang out with like everyone together and you more than I hang out with you one-on-one, because it's just we get
to see Meg at home anyway, so actually it's more interesting to see everyone else.
True. Boring me now.
What you guys, being so mature, have probably showed your teammates, showed me that it's possible. It's you're Celia and she's Meg.
Yeah.
You're individuals, and that doesn't change. You don't go from being Celia and Meg to just being one person.
Yeah.
A couple of teammates might prefer spending time with you than they do Meg.
Yeah.
It's really healthy that they can spend time with you without Meg being by your side 24/7, and I think that is so healthy, because when I was playing, I've also seen the other side of it. And there's no right or wrong, and it just comes down to individuals, maturity levels, and personality types. But like, I look at you and Meg, and it's so healthy. You aren't just one person. You are known as Celia and Meg.
Yeah.
You are both like completely unique and different.
Yeah.
And I love spending time with you, because I don't feel like I'm spending time with a couple. And I would have loved to have been on your team. You're fun, you're energetic, you're enthusiastic, you'll be there, Meg will be the other end.
Yeah.
But together, you're amazing together as well.
Yeah.
If only there'd been rugby in Motherwell back in the day, it could have opened in 2GB.
The funny thing though, we trained in Motherwell.
Yeah, Ravenscraig.
Yeah.
That's where I used to train with. Do you remember me telling you about the regional Scotland
Yeah.
set-up, and we trained three mornings a week? Celia ended up doing some training camps back there, and I thought,
so weird.
Celia's never been to my home
No.
in Motherwell. And she
And I'm there training. Like, that was so good. I remember seeing the sign, because as well, you get like sent where you're going, but you got a team manager. They just like, you get on a bus, they take you there. I remember seeing the sign in Motherwell, and I was like, hey, how? I'm in your hometown.
Motherwell is tiny, so it's not as if it's this big.
So just
place.
past you, but I mean, did you have any Scottish players in that Team GB team at Tokyo? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you had Jazz Joyce, was a Welsh player who was absolutely electric. And...
So yeah, Shona's a bit younger, so she was around for like the Paris cycle. But we had Lisa Thompson, who's actually now my Elan teammate. We had Hannah Smith as well. She was Scottish. I think they might have been the only two that actually made the final squad. But yeah, quite a few. And that's also. But actually, oh no, you are Glasgow. Yeah, they're more Edinburgh, I think. A lot of the Scottish guys are
Posh
Edinburgh.
from Scotland.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why?
That's where, like, I'm Glasgowian, so rugby was not a thing. And obviously, the home of rugby is in Edinburgh. Was it Murrayfield?
Very good, yeah. So that's why.
It's a bit like Twickenham, where you can see the stadium.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to play there one day, and maybe that's where the passion comes from.
Yeah, because they are actually, when I speak about it, they're all sort of that way. Yeah.
But talk to us a little bit about Tokyo. It was a really strange Olympics. I said 2020 and then added the one because it was it was supposed to be 2020 pandemic. Everyone knows what happened there. There's one thing you've said to me before is that actually you really enjoyed it because it was one of the only sporting events that was happening around that time. And we did have the delayed Euros as well, which was a strange experience, which England got to the final in, but half-empty stadiums. I mean, you were playing in literally empty stadiums.
Yeah, literally empty. Apart from, it was so funny. We were playing and then you just see a couple of like Fijian flags at the top and we were like, they get everywhere. They managed to find a way in. Like, honestly, they were the most dedicated fans.
Stop a Fijian from watching rugby.
Literally.
The top of the
I think that somehow they got flags in. I don't know. I don't think there was actually people there, but it just cracked us up because we just thought, how have you managed to wangle that? But yeah, it was. There was no spectators. It was crazy. And we were all, wearing masks, doing COVID tests every morning. It was so strict. We were moving into the village because you do like a prep camp, Team GB prep camp, and then you move into the village maybe like a week before you compete. And we were literally on the bus at the village, ready to go in, and someone's COVID test came back inconclusive. So we weren't allowed to go in. We had to go back to prep camp. We had to isolate in our rooms. This was the night of the opening ceremony. So we were literally all in our individual rooms watching the open ceremony on the telly.
I would have been there with that bloody thing that you stick up your nose. Like, get that up your nose properly and make this conclusive.
Honestly, because I think we used to do ones every day that would come back, but I think they were being like sent off and stuff at this point. So like, that was kind of it. Yeah.
2 days?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, we had to then wait, and I think we moved in the next day. But it was crazy when you look back at it now. We weren't allowed out. We weren't allowed into Tokyo. We didn't see any of the city really. Like, we had forest fires. We did manage to sneak out one night, but maybe we won't keep going.
Too late for that to be a step,
But yeah, it was still amazing. Still so amazing. The one thing that I'm sad about is that my family couldn't be there because, they had flights out there booked and everything, and never happened.
Wow. So were they able to book it on the hope that they could go, or?
I can't remember what had happened because obviously it got delayed. So I can't remember if they'd booked it for that summer.
Right, for the 2020.
Yeah. And also just like hoping that I was selected as well, because obviously if you book it last minute, then it's just crazy money. Yeah. And they just didn't have that money to be able to book it, a couple of weeks before.
Well, what was really nice was, the Commonwealth Games is not the Olympics, but it was in our country. It was in Birmingham, and you had that the next year. And actually, Lee will be interested to know you beat Scotland in the 5th place playoff as well. So there we go. And beat South Africa, so all of their fans would have gone home. So that was a really nice moment. Your family would have been there and stadiums were open at that point. But actually, this is not the most important thing about the Commonwealth Games, but it's something you and I have spoken about before, and it's a really important conversation about social media and abuse in women's sport, and I do want to talk a bit about this with both of you. It's something that makes me really sad. I said to you before, Celia, that Commonwealth Games, surely that is the safest tournament you can go to. You are not going to get death threats or racist abuse or all the other horrible stuff that happens on social media. But it was the one occasion when you did. And taking it back to you growing up in a really white neighbourhood with a largely white family, I don't think you ever suffered open hostility and racism until you became an athlete and you competed in the Commonwealth Games. So I don't want you to go into too much detail and have to relive that horrible experience, but I know it was really shocking for you.
Yeah, it was, and I rang you, didn't I? Yeah. Because it was just weird. I was just scrolling, I was in the village, just minding my own business, having a bit of me time, and I was just, scrolling on Instagram, and then I went on my DMs. Oh no, it came up as a notification first, didn't it? Because a few people had commented on photos of me and Meg, firstly, with like sick faces, basically just, homophobic. Yeah. And so I was like, oh God. And then I remember like looking again and I saw monkey emojis and I was like, oh God. And then I went on my DMs and then it was there as well.
So all the same account?
I think there were a couple, weren't there? Yeah, but it was weird because it was all like at the same time on the same day. So I don't know if it was the same person from different accounts or like what triggered it. But yeah, it was just, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? What? Why would you ever send that to someone? And I just remember ringing you, just being like, and I didn't ever really think something like that would actually affect me massively because I'd always just kind of thought like, oh, whatever, they're just low lives behind a computer. I don't know them. And I think obviously with all your situation, I'd always just said, like these people, don't listen to these people, and then it happened to me. And I was like, oh my God.
There's a real feeling, I think, obviously I've only lived it vicariously through you and all of our clients. There's a real feeling of kind of injustice and helplessness. It's like, how dare they? Yeah. How dare someone behave like that and get away with it? And I'm really pleased to say the work we do is that they don't always get away with it, but we have to accept they quite often do as well. Yeah. And I've kind of checked with you two that you're right with doing this, but I wanted to talk about some of the hate that we've had to deal with that's been aimed at our female clients. So the majority, for those listening, the majority of the work we do is for football clubs and player associations, so rugby and cricket and a lot of football clubs. And I'm really proud to say that the men's football clubs, with exception of one women's club which pays us a retainer, which we're very proud of, but mainly the men's football club will pay us a retainer and they will say give the same access to the girls as we give to the boys. But what makes me really sad is the abuse that we've seen aimed at female athletes has been far worse than the abuse in terms of its severity, far worse than the abuse aimed at male athletes, which blows my mind because we've got boys earning 200 grand a week and girls, if they're lucky, earning not that in a year. And I've been through the messages and we've tried to work out what's acceptable to say on this podcast, and there's lots we can't. But these are three recent ones this season just gone. So first of all, aimed at a WSL player, we were able to ascertain it was sent by a 14-year-old boy who'd been playing FIFA, and her avatar had been on his team and had missed a chance, and he decided to send her a direct message on Instagram, and it was a long message which had a lot of vitriol in it, and the words that I can read are, "I hate you so much, you can die, you fat," a word that then begins with SL, "you don't deserve life." Now, she didn't know who'd sent that, and the avatar didn't give away who it was. As far as she was concerned, it could have been a 30-year-old man that lived locally and could have found her and caused that to happen. It was a really distressing situation. We dealt with it with the police. The parents were absolutely outraged. The boy no longer has an Instagram account. He's now undergoing education. And actually, I think it's one of the best things we could have done for that young man, by the way, is the intervention. Because if you go through the rest of your life thinking that's okay, you're going to make some terrible decisions that are going to be bad for you and everyone else. Mm-hmm. That's actually the least severe of the three that I'm going to reference. The next one was aimed at actually a number of female football players. There was a threat made to attack women's football games, specific women's football games. And the player was told that one of her teammates will, and it was all written in block capitals, of course it was, be the main victim. She will die along with several other players. I actually feel a little bit upset reading that out because I know it's been recorded and I'm reading this out to the public at large. To receive something like that when you're preparing to play a game of football And we talk about the moment when Meg split her head open, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's your partner or your teammate, you've got empathy, you want to protect your teammates, and then you're getting messages like that. And then the last one is one we've dealt with just this week in the lead up to this podcast. A female player received a message which was attacking one of her loved ones, another female athlete, stating, and this is the one I have to be really careful in what I say, stating that female family member should be the victim of what we would understand to be the most serious kind of sexual assault. I don't need to tell you what that is. Well, obviously you two know, you've seen the message. Quote, from people on the streets. The rest of the language is way too graphic for me to go into. Now, we tracked down the location of that individual based in a foreign jurisdiction where we may or may not be able to take action. But I could give some examples of men receiving death threats, obviously racism, and I can give you some examples of male players having their families threatened. But in terms of how often these messages are received and the severity of them, I feel so sad saying this is the only bloke in the room here, being aimed at women. They're much more violent, and obviously there's a lot of sexually violent imagery that goes into messages to women as well. I mean, it's something that makes me really, really proud that in all of these situations we were able to provide help and assistance, and we were also able to offer your two, and I'm pointing at you two, your two assistance to those girls, because you have experienced stuff that's not that far off it. You've experienced serious racism, you've experienced threats to sexual violence and everything else. I mean, what do we say to these girls? I mean, there are so many things that we do say. One is we talk a lot about the practical steps you can take. And I think you were talking about Mary Earps recently, was talking about it's the price you pay for being famous. And I'm afraid I do agree with her. And I think we were naive 10 years ago to say there's this great platform where you can promote yourself and have great commercial objectives and you can tell the world your story and it's going to be fun and there'll be no consequences. There were always going to be consequences. So I would say to anyone coming into any type of sport, particularly women's sport, know it's going to happen and come to terms with it. And I think that's a conversation you would have loved to have had with yourself before you received that racist abuse. That's a conversation you would have loved to have had with yourself before your world fell apart for that period of time. Is you've got to be ready for it, and you've got to accept that there are some awful people out there and they've got a platform. And then you've got a decision to make, because a decision might be, and you and I, Celia, have spoken about Alona Mayer, who I think is incredible. I think she suffers from no imposter syndrome, and I think she might be a sociopath for that reason. I don't mean that as an insult, I genuinely don't. I think she can cope with it. So I think she can make a decision, comments open, DMs open, sod it. But I'm much weaker than her mentally. I couldn't do that. I think if I were ever in the shoes that you girls have been in, I think I would be DMs closed. I would control comments. I would probably certainly do what you do, hidden words. I think you do hidden words as well. Yeah. Just put those practical steps. But also that mental preparation for it's really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think for me, as a white, straight female, I've got so much less subjects of abuse than what Celia does. And I go back to when you sent me the screenshot and then called me with the comments of the monkey emojis, and I remember it so clearly because it's significant, because it mattered, because although I had received so much abuse, more sexualised abuse, I didn't know what to say to you because I'm white, and it broke me, and it gets me emotional right now, because what do I say to you? How can I can say like what you used to say to me, don't listen to it, it's just noise, it's not important, it's not true. But in those moments, people shouldn't be commenting on your race, or people shouldn't be commenting on the fact that you are in a gay couple. It's not important to them, and it causes so much damage. And then you put the other subjects on top of that, so you're not only dealing with racist abuse and homophobic abuse, we're then touching a territory that's maybe sexualised abuse or potentially death threats. And I've got it a lot easier than others because some people have got so many different areas that they're going to get abuse on. And I think there's only so much that anyone can take. And I'm a bit more privileged than what you are, because you are going to get a bit more abuse than what I am. So I don't know what to say, because I know my abuse is very limited compared to you could get abuse on so many different topics.
I know, but the stuff you've been through, I wouldn't want to go through that.
It's so relative, and Celia, what you've said to me before is there's one common thread and the most common abuse you've ever received has been as a woman. And I say that as the only bloke sat around this table at this point. I'm very, very conscious of the fact with the common thread that comes through is that you are most likely to be so you are of mixed heritage, you are gay, and you are a female athlete, and it's that third one that comes up the most.
Yeah, I know, and that is crazy because it's always about a woman playing a male-dominated sport, and it's always just like trying to put women down, saying that they shouldn't be playing the sport, get back to the kitchen, oh, women's sports, shit.
So you can swear. I'll just put a knee on the podcast.
And it's so frustrating, but those are the things that come up all the time, and you see it all the time. And I think they're the type of comments that like kind of unfortunately just become normal. And it shouldn't be, like, you know, it's still abuse. Like, and the most frustrating thing that I find is that anything that you get online, you think, you would never say that to me face to face. And it's so hard to get your head around that. It's like, you know, when people get road rage in the car and they start like kicking off, and you think, you feel like protected in your little bubble with your car. If we were walking down the street and I cut you up by accident, there's no way you would be effing and blinding at me. Like, so frustrating. But yeah, it's just sad. It's so sad. And like that level of abuse is horrendous for anyone. And I just can't even imagine sitting at home having received that and just like feeling of being unsafe as well. And like we said, one of those people being a young boy that had sent that message, you don't picture it being a young boy that really probably is quite unthreatening in a real life situation. You picture the worst of the worst. You picture them stood outside your door and, you know, try to get into your safe space. And like, no one should have to deal with that. It happens all the time.
And I think on top of that, people will be listening to this, and if you've not experienced it, it'll be like, just ignore it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. Like, you clearly know it's not true, it's not going to happen. But when you are sitting on your sofa reading that, it's a natural reaction to panic. To think, oh my goodness, are they my next door neighbour, or do they live in the US? Like, you have no idea, and naturally you can't help but look over your shoulder thinking, who is this? And people that have never felt that feeling, it's really easy to judge and be like, what you reading that for? And I get so offended when people do say that, because sometimes you don't mean to read it. Sometimes you're on your phone, it just comes through, no matter how many things you've put in place. If they really want to get through to you, they'll find a way, unfortunately.
It's such a simplistic thing to say, oh, just don't look at it. So, yes, that is right. That is the advice we give. You know, we go in and we talk to WSO Academy groups of 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, and we talk about the tools. Here's the tools. There's hidden words. You can close up your DMs if you want. You can only have the people that you've chosen to follow that can comment back. And by the way, most of the men don't do it. We always use that as an example of Ross Barkley. He's one of the only people who controls comments on his Instagram. And the reason is, when he left Everton, he got loads of abuse. So he started to experience it, and that's why he's done it. So yes, that is the correct advice. But just saying, oh, well, just don't look at it, it's not as simple as that. But I do think what's really important is that people like you two telling your story and helping young female athletes to hear it will make it a better place. That it is not. Social media is not a one-way street where it's always going to be lovely and you can, you know, do a Nike boot deal and you can make some money and do all those other lovely things. It's not perfect. And you found that because you've done some great stuff. You know, you re-engaging with some of your ethnic heritage has been a great thing you've done on social media, doing some commercial deals, doing podcasts, not just this but more the other ones, and then promoting it. So, I mean, it's one phrase that we quite often use to male and female players is try as much as you possibly can to make it your outlet. Don't allow it to be your inlet. You know, don't rely on feedback. And I think one of the problems that comes particularly in football and particularly in the younger years, and it will with the growth of women's sport happen more and more and more and more, is you will get floods and floods of positivity in your early years and it feels great. And then when you start to become dependent on that, wait to the moment someone criticises you or even worse than that, abuses you. So it's that kind of knowing what it is, accepting it for what it is, coming to terms with what it is, but as you rightly say, bloody hell, it's not easy. And like, I can sit here as a white middle-aged bloke and say, oh, just don't look at it. Well, I don't know how scary it is to be a woman and receive a threat of sexual violence. I don't know. Well, I have a good idea of it because I do so much work with women, but I have no concept of how scary that is and I think it's what a lot of men don't understand is how scary men can be to women. And when you receive things like that, I think a lot of men just don't understand how that will make you absolutely freeze and stop in your tracks.
Yeah.
Because these things do happen. I mean, during my youth, I remember Martina Hingis being stabbed by a stalker when she was at a tennis tournament. So it does go into the real world. So it is scary. So there we go.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about the Emma Raducanu stalker situation at the moment. I just think that is just, it's just awful. Yeah. It gives me chills. Like, imagine looking up and, it's just horrendous. I hate that. I hate that it's something that we have to speak about. It's just so...
The world's become much more open because of social media. It's always had the vast majority of the public being wonderful people or good people. I don't know about wonderful. But it's always had terrible people in there. And obviously it's become a much more open place because of social media. And it is one thing that sometimes I do come across too much as someone's dad when I talk, but I am a big advocate for sharing less private information. That's one thing we do talk about young groups about is like... obviously, your relationship with Meg is very public, and there's no way it couldn't be anything other than public. But we do say to young players, like, you don't always have to tag your girlfriend straight away, or you don't have to. I saw one example of a WSL player received some artificial grass in the back garden, and obviously to get some money off, she posted a picture in her garden. And if you live locally, you could work out where that was. So things like that are really, really important to talk about. But I want to go to just a little bit of positivity, and I'm kind of conscious on time on this one. I think it's your pinned tweet, and I know that you don't use X just like me and Lee, because it's you do use it, but not as frequently as you used to, because it has become toxic, such a toxic place. But your pinned post, your tweet, or whatever they're calling them nowadays, I love it. I really love it. I'm going to read it out. I don't play for your approval. I play for me. I play to inspire the young girls who have a dream that I do. And it was part of a campaign, so the hashtag is I care. And so the 2.7 million female rugby players across the globe, that's a really massive number. And the first reply to that is lots of clapping emojis from Will Carling. And I don't know rugby that well, but I know Will Carling, and he's a huge name on that one. So, I want to say social media has been a really great thing for you by and large, though. It's been a great opportunity for you.
No, it has. And that's the thing. And that's the battle that I think a lot of people and athletes have. Because there are so many positives, and the social aspect, the people that you meet that you would actually probably never meet if you would never come across them in person, and staying in contact with people, and these brand deals, and being a female athlete as well. Obviously, it's getting better, but you have to make money elsewhere. You're not going to get paid enough in rugby anyway. You can get paid enough to live on now, but if you want to aspire to be bigger and better and actually have a longevity in your career, you have to do other stuff. You have to make yourself marketable and build your own brand. So that's the other pressure. It's kind of like you kind of have to do that. It has to be part of your life if you want to get somewhere. And I've used it in so many positive ways, but actually it's also brought a lot of stress and horrible moments as well. And the first real negative experience was your situation, which was like the worst thing in the world to me. Like it was awful, like for me, and I wasn't even the one going through it, like, so I can't even imagine. But that was the first real like horrible experience, I think. And then since then I've dealt with my own situations, obviously the situation at the Commonwealth Games, and another one when I took part in a lingerie campaign which just blew up on Twitter, and just there were so many horrible nasty comments.
Context, wasn't it?
Yeah,
just criticism.
And that was again really, really hard, because I just wanted to change the narrative to what the actual context was, but I couldn't. If you reply to one person, get the wording slightly wrong, then it just brings more and more abuse, and it's such a horrible situation. You just have to kind of sit there and just wait for it to all blow over, and it does, but it also doesn't make it easy at the time.
Well, coming to terms with the lack of control that you have over social media is a really freeing thing. We're big believers in some of the Stoic philosophies, and sometimes drop them into sessions with athletes, which is a bold move, but it works. To use it in the football vernacular, control or controllables. You can't control your response to everyone out, how everyone responds to you. And so therefore you were right. You didn't try and argue with everyone, explain what happened with that campaign, because there was a really great reasoning behind that campaign, and it got flipped on its head and said, oh, we're trying to sexualise young girls. It had nothing to do with young girls. It was about empowering powerful women, and it was trying to sell lingerie to women.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with young girls. But I think now you've gone through that makes you a better person, and Lee, having gone through what we've gone through, I mean, I proudly spoke at a school recently, and, you know, she's one of my heroes. She's what she turned what happened to her into her superpower. That's the only way you can take control of situations like that. Thinking you can control the internet, what everyone thinks of you, it's a fool's errand. You're never going to be able to achieve it. So the last thing I wanted to then get to is, it brings us quite nicely, I think, to the transition from being an athlete to not being an athlete. And you're still 29, nearly 30, as I've already reminded you. You've still got some playing left in you, but you've got an eye on the future. And it's one thing that we really try and hammer home with both boys and girls. You know, even those boys that think they're going to be in the 0.012, I think I've missed the 0.12% of Premier League football players. They're going to be multimillionaires when they retire. But they are going to retire, and they are going to be high achievers with nothing left to do. And the thing that we bang on and on and on and on and on is, don't just be a rugby player, don't just be a football player. And I think you have, I mean, there will have been moments in your younger career where, fuck it, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to put the E on the podcast now. I'm just going to be a rugby player, I'm just going to focus on that. But I think what's really nice, and I'm really proud that we've been able to help you with, is, you know, you've got a real creative part of you, and you've been doing some great work with us in some of our graphics, our design, stuff that we do on social media, and you're doing that for Ealing as well, so you're helping them out with their marketing. I guess my question to you would be, what would you say to the 18-year-old Celia, and let's say the 18-year-old Celia is in 2025, where the landscape looks slightly different?
It's tricky, because I always knew the importance of education. I never loved it. I've always been creative, and I'm a doer. Like, I'm not great at sitting in a classroom, but I knew it was important. My dad had hammered that into me. So I think I would say, just, you know, stick to what you feel is right for you, because I knew that I needed to go to uni. Like, I knew that I needed to do that, even though I didn't love my course. I knew I had to do that, so I had something to fall back on. And I do think now, you know, I'm probably never actually going to use my degree, because hopefully I'm going to go into something that is almost, that uses my platform that I've gained from being a rugby player. But if I ever needed to, I've got it. And I think it's so important. So many rugby players now, especially in the men's game, they're encouraging it a lot, to do education or work or get qualifications and stuff alongside it, so that they have something to fall back on. So yeah, I think I would just say, just do what you want to do, go and chase your dreams, be a rugby player, but have an eye as well on the other things, because I always had it kind of in the back of my mind, what are you going to do when you finish? What are you going to do? And I love rugby, and I always have, but I've never been that person that it's my life and that's all I can think about. Meg's that person. Meg will think about rugby all the time. I'm like, okay, give me a break. Like, I don't want to be at home watching rugby on my day off. So I knew that I needed something else. I knew that I wasn't going to do that forever. So yeah, I think the transition part is so important. It's so hard. Like, you know, I'm so lucky that you guys have taken me on and look after me.
Really lucky to have you. There was a lovely moment at the back end of last season where you presented to Brentford's women's first team, and they're associated with the Premier League club, but they are an amateur team that plays in the London Regional Leagues. But I think that was a really nice moment for you, because that was you. Yeah, you were able to tell your story, pass on some of that wisdom, and actually start to see what your future looks like beyond playing as well. And obviously we've got programs with WSL clubs, and I don't know whether we'll ever convince you to get in front of a group of rugby girls. You might have to wait for a generation that you've never played against before you're brave enough to do that.
It's weird when I know them all. No, but it has been amazing. And honestly, like, you guys stepped into my life at the best time. I was kind of lost, and I didn't really know what my next steps were. And I felt almost trapped in rugby, because it's all I've known. And that's my career. Like, that's what I've always done. And I didn't know what was next. But you guys gave me the opportunity to transition while still playing, and it didn't have to be a sudden, no, right, you're done now. You have
Identity crisis.
Yeah.
You start on Monday morning, bring your laptop.
Yeah, literally, it's so scary when all we've done is train full time for 8 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very lucky, but I would just encourage people to do that as well. Like I wish that I'd done some other stuff while I was playing, because you have so much time. Yeah.
There's such a fine line of trying to enjoy and being present when, for example, you're travelling once a month for 10 days at a time, trying to be present, trying to really soak up, enjoy time with your mates, and you're training, you're preparing for games, and then also trying to think, oh, I need to make sure I'm trying this, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, especially when you don't know what that is. It helps when, for example, you might love yoga.
Yeah.
And you want to be a yoga teacher in the future. Like, that's something you already know, so you can put it into your day. But when you're trying to figure out what is it I'm going to do, that's really overwhelming. That puts people in a state of panic of, I don't know, I'll think about that next year.
You just put it to the bottom of the pile, don't you? Because you're just like, well, where do I even start?
Yeah. But I think we've got this opportunity now for the first time ever to experience it with someone as they're going through it, and hearing the thoughts and feelings, what it feels like, what it's like, what the struggles are. Because both myself and Fraser went through it.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, I don't know what that felt like. I just know at times it was really tough, whereas you phone me all the time, we have open chats about it. So I've said to you, document this, because this could be a future presentation. This could be your thing. Like, because right now we look back and we're like, I know it was tough.
Yeah.
But someone telling me to do something on the side, but what?
Yeah, I know. That's
what is that?
Yeah.
Without it being education, 'cause I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I guess we have got an opportunity here to not only support you through it, but support other people in the future, because we're going through it right now with you.
Absolutely. Well, we're 5 years old this last month. I look forward to the next 5 years, and look forward to, well, maybe we'll still be playing in 5 years' time. Let's see how that.
Meg will be. Meg will be playing in 10 years.
I won't be, I can assure you.
Amazing. Well, look, thanks so much for joining our business, Celia, and thank you for being on our podcast.
Thanks for having me. Love you guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Football Journeys. Before you go, and if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave us a review, a rating, or talk about us on social media. Find us on @JourneysPod. Your support helps us to make this podcast a success. Thank you for your support.